Three, two, one. I think we're live. What is going on, YouTube? And welcome to another episode of OnlyCops live here. This is our Tuesday variety show. I am joined here by Keith, or as I call him, Dad. He is here to go lend his perspective of the early days of law enforcement, back when lanterns, revolvers, and horses were used. Yeah. I have everybody else that's here. I want to thank everybody from both our Patreon group and then also our now 14,500 subscribers. We've grown a lot since the days of I realized like the channel's getting on to about 3 years old, and we've grown a ton in that time. So I'm excited for everybody that's here. Bill is currently in an undescribed location in a trailer, but he is getting his computer set up. He should be coming back here shortly, and then producer Juan should be back by Thursday. I do think he's going to give you guys a Thursday stream, but we also have a lot of produced content that's going to be coming out. The Tuesday streams where we get a bunch of videos that are law enforcement like adjacent or related specifically. We're going to be talking about a lot today, actually. So I have some pretty good stuff. I want to thank my Vigilantes group for helping me moderate the Discord, and then all of my mods here in the chat are really awesome because they make this tenable and hopefully keep us on the internet for a bit longer, for as long as we're allowed to do it. Christy C does indeed win the first place prize. The stream was not set up, so I had to set it up myself. Chris is also here. Jordan is here. Cody Smalls feels new. Maybe he's new. What is going on? And welcome to the live. Brian Miner is not new. It is good to see him. Robert Carson, the Dan Hammer, is in the building. Let's see. Sam is here. Notorious Emu is indeed here as well. Thank you for the gloves emoji. Bandit is here. Who am I missing? Mom is here under her Badge Bunny alias. Sailor George, what is going on? Kai is also here. I promise if I missed you, I'm sorry. Joe, I just caught him for a split second as this thing was refreshing. Welcome. Go ahead and drop a like. Roy Boy. Bro, I haven't seen Roy Boy in a minute in a stream. It is good to see you as well. We're going to be answering law enforcement related questions. Please put them in the chat. Unlike the body cam streams, this is a bit more like law enforcement adjacent, but we're going to try to make it entertaining if we can, and likely educational, as we tend to be. I want to thank Keith for joining me, so these aren't just solo streams. And then you guys will get to see stuff. If you guys want, there's some really, really cool merch. You guys can go do that and get it. Producer Juan spent a lot of time and energy in producing these things. And also the... lofty goals. The what was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought here. You can join the Patreon group or a YouTube membership for as little as $1 a month, and that gives you direct access to our Discord. Our Discord is really rad. We have cool stuff like movie night, game night. I'm going to try to be relatively time efficient because I have to be up in like 10 hours to go drive 14 more hours, but I'm going to give you guys as much time as I can this evening and reward you guys for your diligence and your loyalty and your desire to learn. Shawshank's here. My dog. Bro, a lot of people are coming out today. I keep forgetting, Keith, that this Punisher skull is your emoji, and I keep looking down. I'm like, who is this? And I was like, oh, this is my boy, Keith.
Oh, I'll change that.
Oh, no, don't leave it. Do not apologize for the... It's an interesting... And we're actually going to talk about police culture today, but there is an interesting, like, burden that law enforcement has. I was watching this... I don't know if I can find it or not, but there was this really interesting conversation that was happening amongst a bunch of EMT and firefighters, not to disparage them, but they were talking about being desensitized to death because they saw it a lot. And when you're a medical professional, especially when you're working in emergency services, that's either the ER or whatever, that is traumatizing. It's collectively traumatizing, right? But they likely don't have to deal with violence, right? Like being perpetrated onto you or onto others. And you don't have to deal with like, I just want to call it like just general villainy. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. Like, you're not at ground
Safe.
zero. You know what I mean? Like, you're not the one booting the door to go find the kid that's been neglected or the person being held hostage. And like, you're not, there's a different type of stress. You're a doctor, a social worker, and a soldier kind of all wrapped into one person. And being a police officer blows sometimes. But anyways, I felt for them because to a certain degree, I understood where they were coming from and like being desensitized to death and being desensitized to stuff like that. Sarah, it's good to see you as well. But I was like, imagine experiencing all that and then the violence and then all that other stuff. Like, I was like, yeah, being a cop sucks. And I know I tend to give my fellow emergency responders a hard time, but it's different. We see all of the worst case scenarios and we're responsible for them. So yeah. It's complicated, man. Like, if the amount of, and there's still not enough cops, in my personal opinion, being held to a high enough standard. I see it a lot. You guys that are familiar with the Thursday streams know how I feel about that. But man, if the amount of malpractice got chased, like in the medical field, as much as it got chased everywhere else, like, goodness gracious. Anyways, Nose Nuggets, it's good to see you. Gloopy is the most adorable name I have seen on this. Medic Gray, what is going on, homie? And Sweeper, I missed a couple people that I didn't get to say hi to. This is a good reason for insurance purposes. My brother works in insurance. To have front-facing cameras on your property. Here's a good reason why. Did he self-pick? I wonder. Oh, that's really all it was. It was just him gliding by. I thought there was another angle to this. Shout out to whoever posted that. This is a pretty good conversation here. As someone who I was just entering policing. I was graduating college and entering policing when the Michael Brown incident occurred. For those of you not familiar, Google it. But this did happen in the city of Ferguson here. And it was before George Floyd. Michael Brown was really probably, maybe not the first, but the beginning fledglings of the politicizing of police interaction. There was always some conversation happening around it, but it became like a political topic after this. This wasn't maybe not the birth of defund the police, but it did start that. And this guy gives a really good speech about this.
Officer suffered a severe brain injury. He is at an area hospital right now, fighting for his life. And I'm gonna break away a little bit from what I was planning to talk about. This police department, this Ferguson Police Department, since 2014, has been a punching bag for this community. The police department back in 2014, we don't even have them officers here anymore. So what are you protesting? These officers not even here no more. Everything that the activist community has advocated for, as far as body-worn cameras, implicit bias training, crisis intervention training, all this stuff, we have done all of this. What are we protesting? What is it? We even changed the uniforms at this police department because people said that the old uniforms trigger people. What are we doing? 10 years later, I got an officer fighting for his life. It's enough, and I'm done with it. We're not doing it here in Ferguson. Our community is united behind us. Our community is fed up. We want to heal. Our community want to heal.
He talks on a little bit more. I'm not going to make you guys watch the whole thing. You guys can go check it out. What I liked about what he had to say was that there has actually been massive change in the way that policing gets conducted. Keith and I chuckle all the time off script and off camera about how different really the world was back then. I think that there was probably more of a shame culture back in Keith's day, and so doing the right thing was kind of collectively enforced through stuff like shame culture. So you didn't want to be a bad person because people would know you as one, right? I feel like the world was also a lot smaller pre like social media, and so like your reputation locally was your reputation everywhere, right? However, like in the digital age with body worn cameras and cell phones and all that kind of stuff, out of every single like profession, right? And you can look at the airlines industry, you can look at like I don't know, nursing, teaching, whatever. We have caved more to what the public wants than probably anybody, I would argue. Because like my job in 2019 was almost unrecognizable to someone that started policing in the 80s. Between like how you reported things, how AI went, having to give your name and badge number for everything. We called them Sandra Bland cards or Sandy's, but we had complaint cards that any law enforcement interaction that I went into, regardless of the disposition, regardless of anything, if I detained somebody for any reason whatsoever, I had to I have a stack of these still in my, because I kept them. I thought they were funny. But I kept them, and it had my name, my badge number, and the phone number to complain on me. And I would write like the incident number. Because we had anytime we got issued anywhere or marked out somewhere, there was an incident number. I gave that to every single person I interacted with, period. And I had no beef with that because everything I'm doing is getting documented and I'm doing the job the right way. But like, how many professions do that now? Right? You can still get bad service at Starbucks and have no idea who served you, right? And I'm okay with it. I have no issue with transparency like existing in law enforcement. I have most of those changes I think have been good ones as far as earning public trust and doing the job the right way. But the people that had the complaints or the people that weaponized some of the suffering that happens in those circles haven't done anything to meet us in the middle. And I think it's made a lot of people bitter, him obviously included. And what upsets me is a lot of the people getting hurt were not the people that were perpetuating violence early. Keith and I both worked with bad cops. Like I will be the first person to admit I had police officers that I did not agree with on a philosophical, moral, or political level. I was like, you are a tyrant. Like, I think you are a bad person. And we would lobby complaints, and sometimes they got dealt with and sometimes they didn't. But what will burn out the guys you want to stay, and I've never forget this, that during 2020 specifically, which was worse than even 2014 for this, I had a lot of people I knew that had complaints about law enforcement say, you know, ACAB, but not you. Because they knew me personally, and they had interacted with me to some capacity, whether it's high school or whatever. And they're like, well, you're a good guy, and I hope that more cops are like you, right? And I was lucky that I had a good upbringing, and I went to college and whatever. I was a well-rounded individual. But what burned me out quicker than anything was having to put up with me getting told that I was a bad person and then bad cops not being dealt with. Like, of course I was the one that left, right? The bad cop wasn't going to leave until someone made him leave. And then, like, you're not making a conducive environment for, like, the highest tier individual to become a police officer. I was able to go get a job somewhere else where I don't have to worry about going to prison, you know, just because of a mistake or something gets interpreted as one, or my call becomes politicized, right? And even though I did everything to the letter of the law and correctly, morally and ethically, I still might go to prison just because the DA's got an axe to grind and, you know, a mayor's got an election to win. I think they've created a very toxic environment for the right people, and smart, good, put together, high-skilled, high desirable individuals that you would want to be police officers are going to do anything other than law enforcement. And that's sad to me, because this is the lived experience of cops today. And it's not a respect thing. It's just like why would you volunteer for that? Like, at least with veterans, right? Like, you get to serve honorably, and there's a community there. Like, dude, Keith and I've been out now for 3 years. And how long have you been out, Keith?
9 years.
Guess what community we have as former law enforcement officers? This one. This is it. I had to make one because there was no. I don't get any disability benefits, right? Like, I have certain long-term chronic issues right? That stemmed from my service. Do you know anybody on full disability for law enforcement? Does that even exist? It's wild. Like it is a weird, like, and I feel bad because I go out of my way to almost talk people out of doing the job that I was very proud to do. But I'm like, I know the reality of it, you know? Anyways, it's a really good take on someone that's probably, hopefully fighting the good fight over there, and clearly a police department that needed help. But, yeah, it was hard for me to watch because I experienced some of that personally. Your PTSD is 0% service related. Dan, you just made my day. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's, I don't know. What's your take on that, Keith?
Well, so, like when I started, one of the things they taught me, and I think I've talked to my wife about this, and maybe I've talked with you about it, but the one thing they kind of ground into us was do no harm.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you're going to have to break up families. You're going to have to haul some kid's daddy to jail. But don't be malicious. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You're doing a job. You're enforcing the laws, and you do it to the best of your ability. Sometimes violence comes into the game. Sometimes lethal force comes into the game. But you have to make sure your heart is in the right place when you're doing all this, when you're doing this job, and you're just being constantly assaulted by this, again, violence. And you will see some of the most horrifying things you've ever seen. The human capacity to harm each other is it's immeasurable, and it's horrifying what it is sometimes. But you have to do the best you can to not let it alter you, let it change your views on people, and when it does, it's time to get out. And that was mine. My view was changing on people. It was time for me to go, so I left. But that was a long time of observing humans at their worst.
At their worst, yeah.
You know, and I mean, I had a lot of great things happen. You know, saved some lives, helped a lot of people, enjoyed the job, but don't let it ruin you. But just really the biggest thing is just, you know, again, remember, you're not there to harm anybody. You're not some avenging spirit.
Some avenging spirit.
Yeah, you will feel like it, and you will want to. And, you know, to a degree, you will be able to, but you need to keep it all in check.
Yeah.
You know, it will turn you, and it will change you. You will not come out of it the same.
Yeah, I think, too, like, you're a very big reflection of the community that you serve. And I'm very jealous. I'll see, heck, we have somebody, Frederick, he's talking about being a police officer in Norway. But like, like I did not work in a particularly great area. Like there was a lot of poverty. There was a lot of violence. There was at least 30 murders a year in my city plus. And I got to be there at like peak time when we're over there breaking records. Like we had a murder. We had multiple murders every single New Year's. We had, you know, I called it domestic assault Sundays. Is basically every time the Cowboys lost. Yeah. It was bad. I worked in a very bad area, and I went from being. I had this conversation with my wife the other day, that I went from being like generally like a very happy disposition, like person. I guess if it makes any sense. Am I still quiet? Let me know if I'm still quiet. I was generally like a happy person, and I like gave people the benefit of the doubt 9 times out of 10. To that grind really made me a lot more pessimistic. Like way more, like I was like, no. Like I used to be the type of person that would be like, you know, charities could fix this. And I was like, no, because those depend on people. And like I had to stop being a person to be able to like help, like kind of quell society. It's complicated. I don't, I don't know. I should have been a cop in the county. I'd probably still be doing it, but or worked in a nicer place. But I'm glad, like I said, there was some times where I got to do some really wonderful work. There's kids that are alive today because of me. There's crazy people that are alive, hopefully still to this day because of me. And I'm proud of that. But yeah, there was some there that I was like, there's no helping. I just got to be here to witness human suffering. Cool. Like, what a good time. Okay. Shout out to this chick. She's a goat.
Yes. Is she related to you?
A moment of bravery.
Are you related to him?
Yeah.
No, you're not. She just said no. Walk away.
This is not what this trio of friends expected to happen on a summer evening 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we were all just playing outside, like sports and stuff. And then the ice cream truck came, so we wanted ice cream. That's when we saw the little girl and the man.
Her brother said that he was gonna go get candy, but he only wanted her to go. So then that's when we kind of got suspicious.
13-year-old Esme says that's when she and her 11-year-old friends started questioning the man.
I was scared of the things that could happen to the poor little girl, so I just wanted to get her out of there.
The man who was walking away holding the wrist of a 6-year-old girl.
He cussed at me and told me to walk away.
The girls say the man who lives in the complex started speed walking away and they started following and recording.
We decided to walk her home because, I highly doubt she knew what was going on.
That's when Esme's mom called police who arrested the man.
Oh, they got him.
Is she related to you?
A moment of bravery.
Anyways, talk about rad. I don't ever advise you walking into a situation where you don't know how to handle yourself or whatever, but talk about goated. Like, these little kids decided to see something, say something. I'm glad this guy wasn't more motivated, because that obviously could have gone more, again, pessimistic brain here. Could have gone very poorly, but they saved that little girl's life, and shout out to them for that. I'm not gonna not advocate for intervening in stuff. It's just Grant. I'm not gonna disagree with you, Grant. All I'll say is this: if you feel like you're a bleeding heart person, right, and you see something, you want to do something, just make sure you have the training and some level of experience to do it safely for yourself and for the people that are getting involved. This worked out great. This is a great story, and results matter. So this is a total win all the way around. The girls stopped the guy. The cops found the guy. We're able to win the day. It's just not often how it goes down. But shout out to them. I think it's super rad. And sometimes, again, not all heroes wear capes and guns and badges. Sometimes they just do the right thing because that's what they're compelled to do it. Keith. Anyways, shout out to the 3 chicks for stepping up and crushing it. They did a better job than Uvalde PD did. Shout out to them. High five.
There you go.
So this is, I don't know who to blame for this, but this is apparently LAPD SWAT doesn't get enough attention. They're like the Navy SEALs of the cop world. They did a thing. I don't know.
I've seen a lot of tragedies. I've seen a lot of different things on this job, and obviously a lot of disturbing things. If you're one of those persons that lets it sit with you, and where you go home and let it bother you, or you take it home to your family, then no, you won't survive this job. Wilson Wong, police officer, 3+1, LAPD.
Okay, I'm gonna just take it a step back real quick, and I want to show you guys something that only those of us in the know would understand. Hold on, we're like right here. You get a good look at him. If the man's got that look on his face and gray hair, he made it to be old because he's a bad dude. Like, that is not the, when you, I don't know, on Only Robbers, right? If you decide to hold up the convenience store and that's what looks back at you, maybe don't.
Could be.
That is a scary human being. Heck, you run into this in the street as like as a police officer. I ran into a couple dudes that I was like, he's probably got a couple bodies under him. Like,
Yeah.
maybe I take a couple extra precautions where I normally wouldn't, right? Shout out to this dude.
Wong, police officer, 3+1, LAPD SWAT. LAPD SWAT, since inception of 1967, has been known as the superior SWAT team in the United States.
The SWAT games would argue otherwise, but whatever. What do we know? They've been the best funded. We'll say that.
As I became a member of the SWAT team, worked with basically the top 2% in my last 22 years, I can now say that, yes, I believe LAPD SWAT is number one, and I base that on the people that I work with, the caliber of officers that I've worked with, the experience level and the maturity.
He has that, I don't like to overuse command presence, but Wilson has that. He looks fit, he looks sharp, he can make decisions, stands by his decisions, and he has projected that from the first moment I met him.
I can tell you this, I still think of Wilson as one of those individuals that, and I think the platoon does too, that when the serious calls come in, Wilson is one of those individuals that will handle it and will handle well.
Opening straight ahead, opening straight ahead! I got the opening. Close to our left, close to our course is clear.
At the age of about 28, became a police officer for the city of Los Angeles.
28. It's a great time to start becoming a cop.
Yeah.
Good starting age, my daughter.
That was in 1988. So from 1988 to 1994, I was a police officer working the streets of Los Angeles, where I grew up. I worked.
Could you imagine being a cop in the 80s in LA? Oh, that is kind of rough. This guy is built a little different.
In the vice units, working in the Hollywood area.
Wilson is never
worked in the gang
wrong.
units, and eventually I was accepted into Metropolitan Division, where SWAT was based out of. I worked 2 years in what we call the line platoon. Eventually, the tryouts came for the SWAT team, very arduous tryout, and after approximately 6 weeks, we were accepted into the SWAT team, and where I've been for the last 22 years.
Dude, that's those highly coveted positions. I don't remember Corporal Skellin. Shout out to my dude. He was our armor for our range. So he's like the senior range officer and armor for the department. But he had that gig for 17 years. There's no patrol responsibilities. You just shoot guns and run the range, basically. What a gravy gig.
I might not be the smartest guy in the world, but I've worked very hard to basically achieve everything that this unit requires to be a SWAT member.
Shout out to my boys still rocking a 1911.
Yeah.
What an old head.
As being one of the first Asian American, Chinese Americans to be on the SWAT team, yes, I set my goals. I worked very hard for this, and I'm very proud of myself. My family's very proud of me. And like I said, I had one goal, and that was to make it to the SWAT team.
It's kind of rad. That is a different type of policing this guy participated in. I will say SWAT is likely HRT, whatever you want to call it. Those positions can be very stressful, but the stress is never by yourself, ever by yourself. Shout out to the county guys that have to handle shit on their own. And two is done with the best possible tools available and the best possible training available. You will see a guy make it 15 years on SWAT just fine, or 15 years on a hyper specialized unit like that and be fine, versus patrol's just a meat grinder. Notice he did 4 years on patrol, 2 years in a specialized unit, and within 6 years he's on the most premier SWAT team on the planet or whatever. The military has a very similar track in pacing. Let's say you're a Marine and you want to become a Navy SEAL or whatever. There's a very similar track if that's something you're interested in. And you kind of self-segregate because you either meet the standard or you don't. But you ain't working domestics. You ain't working, bullshit calls of ODs and all of that nonsense. Accidents, DWIs, emergency detentions. But you do get the heinous stuff. And in that instance, that's why you have all the training, because that's the most likelihood that something goes bad, an officer gets hurt. That's why they send SWAT. I'm a little, I don't want to say biased. I'm going to say biased. Only because I've now gotten, since I've left policing, I got to do some training outside of law enforcement, specifically having to deal with room clearing and rifle and a lot of that stuff. And police are not the tip of the spear for that. I was very lucky. I got to take a class with Kyle Morgan, and it's Delta, right? It's literally the tip of the spear. The tiniest, tippest pit of Delta Force operators are the best at CQB, hands down. And the difference in skill between probably the best SWAT operator and the worst guy on Deltas, still a valley, like a pretty big one. And so, and it's not like they need to be that cool, because they're not like, I don't know, taking down supervillains and stuff like that. But I do think that SWAT oftentimes does get very big in the britches of feeling very cool. When I was like, I've met cool, and cool is scary. I have now gotten to take 2 different classes with people at that level. And same thing with like Navy SEALs, another very big elite group of people. But again, also the money difference, the budget difference, the experience difference is also vast there, right? As far as de-escalation, as far as people management, rapport building, I think cops absolutely crush it. If society collapsed, it would be cops at the center rebuilding communities, 100%, because we're the only people with the skills that know how to do it, right? But when you need to go do all the whiz-bang Hollywood stuff, we are not at the top tier list for that. I'll be the first to admit. Oh, I wonder if this is the Ring camera footage. This is the same kind of car. These look like similar trees.
Get out of the way, dude. They might
Oh my god.
Challenger?
Maybe, yeah. This guy lost his radio.
Oh yeah, that is the breed.
This looks like the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Free advice if you ever happen to find yourself in a position where you're law enforcement and you're going code, do a call like this. Turn off your siren. Please, for the love of God. Any radio traffic that needs to get out, securing the scene, calling for medical, announcing that shots are fired so everybody else can kind of hurry up, right? Will not get through with those sirens on. Like, all they're going to hear when you key up is... That's all they're going to hear. They're not going to hear anything. So, please... Oh, sorry for everybody wearing headphones. My bad.
Headphones.
My bad. Yeah, I was like, I'm not a fan of this guy just getting to step out. Once you're having to take this aggressive of a posture to approach either a structure or a car or whatever, we'll call it guided. Don't just let people walk around. You have no idea. We have no idea if these people are armed or have bad intentions or whatever, and they might be an innocent passenger in this, but find out once they're secured. Don't find out in the wild here.
Yo, this is crazy.
I don't like that old boy decided to resort to his taser. Just yank him. The arm was there, just like one arm drag, you know?
Yeah.
Damn. Grant said my tinnitus can't get much worse. I feel you right now.
I think this is a high-speed chase because they got
Oh my
police
god,
out
there
here.
was a kid in the car. That should. What is that's it's endangering a child or child
Endangering a child?
Yeah.
Yep.
Have fun in prison. Or depending on the county. Let's be honest. Did they ever figure it out? There we go. We got the sirens off.
No, I just heard. I think it was the train. The train was coming.
This guy's mowing or vacuuming his front yard.
Yep. Yeah. He's out there vacuuming grass.
Is this a canine or is this? I want to know now. I'm going back a little bit.
It looked like a Rottweiler.
Oh, in
Nope.
shorts and yeah, that's definitely a dude.
Yeah.
Oh, just make sure my dog doesn't need a poop.
The last thing you want to do as a canine is wear shorts.
Yeah,
with
dude.
some of the brush you got to go through.
Dude, no
and wear
kidding.
Pants.
No
Nice
kidding.
thing to use.
Not to turn this into impromptu body cam breakdowns, but yeah, don't do that. Turn your siren off. We were lucky. Ours, the second you put it into park, it would kill the siren. That was
That must be nice.
That was a very nice feature. What sucked is you'd forget about it. And like, let's say you were blocking traffic, like it was in the highway or something like that. You'd kick it into drive and it would kick right back on. And you're like, oh shit. And so you'd have to turn it back off. But yeah, that feature needs to be standard in police packages. That was super nice. But if it doesn't, just flick it back to the second position, like flick it back one,
Yeah.
Or I guess if you're the push button kind of people, push it back, unclick it. Is it prison time in Texas? It all depends on the DA's office.
Statute-wise, yes. Endangering a child.
Yes, it should be. That's a third degree, isn't it? I think.
I believe so.
If it's not a state jail, I think it's a third degree. Unless there's like some aggregating factor, and then they can bump it up. What that means is that is more than a year in jail. It's the easiest way to determine. New soundboard effect. Someone clip it, so it'll be a new soundboard of.
We got to clear some of your sounds out. Y'all have.
We have too many.
Yeah,
we'll clear some out. We have some old ones we can get rid of.
30 questions about who's training new police officers in Massachusetts. A months-long WBZ investigation has uncovered some pretty serious complaints against dozens of instructors at the state's police academies. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Courtney Cole.
And I'm Lisa.
It's a big reason why I don't like academies that are not from the police departments these officers are going to work from. You are going to pick up bad habits and very decentralized training that's not specific enough to your work environment. So you got to imagine, if I'm a college professor, right, and I have a master's degree in criminal justice and whatever. Maybe I was a cop forever ago, right? The kind of training, even in an academy setting, that I'm going to give a student or recruit versus Keith, if I had to pull Keith off the street, right, and he's a field training officer, and he's asked to give the same lecture over the same topic, he's going to contextualize it from an experience standpoint. He's going to say, here are the bullet points. Yes, you should de-escalate. Yes, this is what the book suggests de-escalation looks like. But really what you need is scene security.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can give that perspective because it's a daily reality for you, right? It's always my issue with firearms instructors that'll give a lot of feedback on what law enforcement officers should or shouldn't do with their gun, right? And I'm like, yes, marksmanship fundamentals don't change. Gun safety doesn't change. However, the amount of proximity to people, non-combatants, that you will have to use a gun in are wild. You are going to break the 180. There is no safe area to point a gun in the wild. When you're in the middle of an apartment complex, what's a safe backstop? Nothing, right? Like literally everything's drywall or whatever. In a street, when you're doing it, traffic stops are the worst for uses of force. And literally I taught myself literally this was to aim into cars and down, because if I happened to whiff one, or even if I just hit somebody somewhere where it wasn't soft and it overpenetrated, it would continue into the car and then into the pavement. I didn't like trying to aim through a windshield, because if it whiffs or they move or whatever, it's just now sailing down the street. And I didn't like that. So if I could avoid it, I would make this. It sucked because it put me in way more danger than I needed to be in unless I had a rifle. I got right up on top of people and would have to aim down. But that was the safest way for me to do it, because I was like, you know what I don't want to do? Go to prison as a cop. So there was situations like that where normally a firearms instructor would give you very specific criteria for a lot of that stuff, and they don't understand that in the context of actually doing the job, that's not a smart habit to develop, right? Former deputies who never left the jail. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's a bad time. There's also a lot of good, and I'm not saying that there's not good experience and training that you can get out there, as long as it's informed from people that are actually doing the job, or at least have done the job. It was really smart. We had an academy coordinator. We had two. And so just depending on which class you were, you got one or the other. But every single time, they literally would pull a corporal off the street and make him, he would get a cool 7 or 8 month duty to just go be there for us. But he would give pushback on training material. That was his whole job, was to make sure that the training we were getting was informed and realistic with what we are going to eventually experience once we actually get into field training. And I thought that was very smart from my old department to have. And it was a new person every single time. So mine, shout out to Corporal Rosenbaum. He was an absolute G. It was cool too, because once I got to work with him out in the street, like, it was random. He didn't train me. I ended up bumping into him like 2 years later. I was like, dude, this guy is just as much of a gangster as I thought he was. Like, they don't pull like the really nice, like, lovey-dovey kind of corporals. They pulled like the dude that gets into a use of force once a week but isn't a mess up. Like, is a really cool dude. But it was smart, because the academy instructor might have been there for 10 years and hasn't seen a patrol car in almost a decade, right?
Yeah.
Versus this corporal's like still trying to kick off the sleepies because he's used to work at nights, and he's having to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. And it was good. And then that guy also got to do the workouts with us, got to do the training with us. And it was like a hyper-focused in-service for him, where he also, typically they would time it too with, like, if somebody's having a kid or whatever, it made it for an easier schedule for them. Anyways, I hate that stuff.
Hughes, WBZ's Louisa Moeller shows us how the state committee in charge has changed its code of conduct since she started asking questions.
There is no such thing as a routine traffic stop.
This is a video.
That's not true. There's a lot of routine traffic stops.
There's a lot of routine, but there's, everyone could go sideways in a second.
You treat all of them like they're not routine, but that's hyperbole. There's absolutely, the vast majority of your traffic stops are routine. That's the whole point of the 7-step approach, right?
Yep.
Anyways, we'll keep going.
Shown to police officers in training this year by the Municipal Police Training Committee, or MPTC.
For passenger side approach, the advantages include
Isn't this the Karen Reed trial? That was Massachusetts, correct?
I think that was.
So
shady.
Maybe, yeah. There's some stank.
There's a trend.
Could be a trend here.
Sorry. I need to stop doing that to the mic. I'm like making myself sound very quiet, and then.
So maybe their failure started at inception at their academy.
At the training phase. Unless it's a full moon. In Norway, we have to have gone through police university, a bachelor's degree. Hell yeah. Have 3 years of experience in an operative role, and then have a chance to start. That's smart. I was very lucky. My police department required a bachelor's degree to even join the academy, like as a recruit, which I thought was smart. I'm still team the earliest age you should be is 25, but I don't think anybody, especially in today's day and age in America, you wouldn't have anybody.
Element of surprise.
And the officer doing the demo, he's not legally allowed to be a police officer in Massachusetts. That's former Hudson police officer Kevin Johnson. This video taken of him before his certification to be an officer was suspended by the state last year. And
I mean, if he's demonstrating it in the correct way, I have no beef with it. But it is a bad look. If you have somebody that's like, you know, can't testify and stuff, like, it's kind of a bad look. But this is no different than having an actor do it. I have no beef as long as what they're demonstrating is safe.
MPTC still showing it to police recruits even after he was convicted of a misdemeanor crime. Court documents state Johnson was arrested for assaulting and kicking a man in the head and pushing his girlfriend. MPTC and its instructor.
You know what's funny? And this is probably a little insensitive, but I'm going to say it's the truth.
Yep.
Everything up until him pushing his girlfriend is like Tuesday, technically. Like, all of those things aren't weird. Now, it's still criminal if you don't have just cause to do it or whatever, but like, everything else was like, oh, I've done all those things. That's weird. Not outside of my course. You know what's weird? I've never pointed a gun at anybody while not being a cop. That's weird. even off duty, and I was never in a situation where I had to. Or even, I haven't gotten in a fight, not as a cop, since I was like in high school, I think. Because I live right. I'm a responsible adult that doesn't go out.
Are in charge of training every new police officer at academies like this one across the state, with training for current officers online. So we wanted to know, who else is teaching the police officers of tomorrow? WBZ obtained a list of MPTC's roughly 2,500 instructors. Salem State University.
That's a lot of instructors.
Yeah.
I guess that's for the state?
I don't know if they're...
Or maybe a lot of them are like subcontracted or something. That's a lot.
So, I know certain states, and I think we've talked. I think Louisiana, maybe one of them, California. I think they've got like a central academy, and I think some states do that. They have like a central academy.
Oh, like for the state as a
all
whole.
all their officers go
Okay.
through to get, and it doesn't. You're not necessarily going to be working for the state, but you may be for. It's the peace officer stuff, you know. So like we have
okay.
for our academies, you know, we could work for anybody once you're certified.
So I wonder if it's also like jailers go to this, and probably like security officers, like maybe not even police officers, but it's the same credits, right? It's just if you want to be a police officer, you have to probably take more or whatever.
Because I know
University
TIFO does like security guard training.
That's right.
I know Texas has a jail standards committee, so I don't know.
It's probably different here. I know, because again, my academy was attached to my police department. I didn't go to like a centralized school.
Yeah.
The interim captain, Stephen Turcott, is on there. Turcott was the subject of a 2012 WBZ I-Team investigation. Salem State settled a lawsuit against him, accusing him of sexual harassment and gender discrimination. In total, WBZ found 46 MPTC instructors with serious sustained complaints against them. 3 who had their MPTC instructor certifications suspended since we started investigating.
Now, 46 out of 2,000 is not a bad batting average, right? If they were sustained and a punishment was doled out, which is likely firing, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But if all of these, like the sustained complaints, I'm less nervous about, because that's a pretty, like, academies are a pretty contentious place, right? Like, you'd imagine how many drill instructors in the Army have sustained complaints on them? Probably a lot. Heck, one of my field training officers had sustained complaints on her, and that my training was fine. But if you have people losing accreditation, like certifications, I think those last like 4, so the 3 that got their certification suspended and the one that got it reinstated, of those 3, I guess probably all 3 get fired unless you get reinstated. And then even then, like, if it was bad enough to get you suspended to lose your certification, like, I have 2,500 other instructors, like, you have more. The sustained complaints, they're making this sound like, oh my God, like they hit somebody. This could be something as simple as making a joke that somebody found inappropriate.
Yeah.
This is, I'm less appalled by this. That being said, again, it's 46 out of 2,000. You couldn't find a high school that didn't have the same number, if that makes any sense.
1 had their instructor certification reinstated after an appeal. Among them, we found officers accused of falsifying timesheets, others involved in alleged domestic violence.
Yeah, domestic violence should be an automatic gone.
Yeah.
Arrested should be an automatic gone. Fudging a timesheet, that'll get you fired as a cop. Actually, one of my, it was a DWI sergeant, got fired for just that. They were putting in for overtime they basically didn't work, or like adding time to their overtime slips, and got canned for it. And you should, as a police officer, you should. I think in there, that's maybe like a administrative thing, and you probably get some discipline for it, but I don't know that you're getting canned for time card fraud or whatever.
At least get a suspension, time
Something,
off without
sure.
pay, something.
100%. No issue with that. Time off without pay, whatever. They put you on the note. When we had it, it didn't matter what your discipline was. Every single month, the chief would put out who all got disciplined and for what. It was wild.
Wow.
It was always cheese man because the email would go out to everybody in the PD, and you'd be like, oh, so-and-so's getting a week off for, showing up unshaved or something stupid like that. Or you got like the saucy one. So-and-so's terminated for, I don't know, hitting their girlfriend or something. It was wild. That was saucy.
Was arrested, then arrested again for violating a order against the same victim off duty.
Don't know how you're an instructor when there's a protective order out for you.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. And the reason I say that, I don't care if even the protective order was maybe given out like maliciously, because that does happen where people leverage the state as a weapon, right? The fact that you're engaging in relationships that can turn that way says a lot. You just got to be careful.
Assault and battery, another accused of illegal drug use, an officer accused of consuming alcohol before their shift, yet another allegedly used a police information system to...
Yeah, that's a big bad one.
That's a big one, yeah.
That one, I'm surprised they didn't see jail time for that one, to be honest. Like, that's a big no-no. These are like half and half. Some of these, and you'll see it, I'm like, meh. Whatever. Guy drinks a beer before shift. It's conduct unbecoming. Sure. Should you get time off? Sure. Unpaid time off and what? I don't know. Make you do a couple push-ups or something. But yeah, this is a big no-no. That's an abuse. That's official oppression, damn near. Depending on who it is.
To conduct searches on 7 people unrelated to his police work. All 46 in violation of the MPTC's Code of Conduct.
It starts with a small transgression. And that becomes...
I don't like that the CEO of the Steerum Group is the one speaking, because I feel like he's selling something.
Something that's accepted. Then it leads to another one, and that becomes accepted.
Larry Smith is a former Massachusetts State Police sergeant who runs a firm that investigates law enforcement. He argues...
There it is. He's selling something.
MPTC's issues stem from its leadership, under the helm of Executive Director Robert Ferrulo, who retired this week. In April, WBZ...
Suspicious! Also, yes, that's where all problems start, is the top.
Yeah.
Someone's letting it happen, and because they're letting it happen, it festers.
Revealed a Stoneham police officer who resigned from his job for allegedly saying the N-word was an MPTC instructor. The committee subsequently decertified him. Last summer, WBZ's I-Team learned a cheating investigation was underway at 2 MPTC academies, and 4 student officers were disciplined at the time.
The executive director that is in charge, he was in charge for all of these.
MPTC told us in a statement, the Municipal Police Training Committee remains deeply committed to ensuring that our staff and nearly 2,500 instructors uphold the highest standards of integrity, competence, and professionalism. The committee says it started a notification process where the state's Police Oversight Commission, called POST, will alert them if an officer is suspended or decertified. And it's now requiring instructors to self-report complaints against them.
You would get a notification from the state. I mean, would you not? Like, I don't get that. Because, like, if I got arrested, right? I hit my cat and I get arrested. Whoever's arresting me is immediately notifying my chain of command. Like, pretty sure we're, like, obligated to. That's weird.
Here's the governor.
Do you think there needs to be a deeper probe into the people who are training the police of tomorrow in this state?
I'm committed to, as a former attorney general and now as governor, making sure that we have the right personnel and people in place when it comes to all public safety matters.
Louisa Moeller, WBZ News.
I should point out, WBZ reached out to the various police departments mentioned in that story, and none of them commented.
Wow. Shady. Also not surprised.
Yeah.
They're over here doing dumb stuff. The self-reporting one got me. Tell us if you did something wrong. Yeah, you're already shady. Like, you're already on the... Let me trust you with self-reporting. That's a great idea. This one's kind of a spicy meatball, but we're going to listen to it here.
this guy 68 times, and when the media asked you, you guys shot this guy 68 times, and when the media asked you, why shoot him 68 times, your answer was, we ran out of bullets, we would have shot him more. Where does that come from?
Well, it comes from the heart, and it comes from the soul. This guy shot and killed our canine, shot and killed our canine handler, shot the backup deputy. Well, he pointed the dead deputy's gun at a SWAT team. What do you think's going to happen? You're going to get shot a lot. You're going to get shot so much you can read the Sunday New York Times through you. And that's what happened.
68 times.
In a matter of a second and a half.
You guys shot.
Probably in no universe does a police chief say something like that or whatever. But dog, when you're the sheriff, you can get away with saying stuff like that. Sheriffs are elected positions. Shout out to them. And I actually really think when done right, it's the best case scenario. Really, deputies and sheriffs should be a direct reflection of the people who've elected to put them there. And they said, hey, if I have to have armed agents to keep us all in check, I at least want to like the guy that's doing it, or believe that he can have some wisdom and some leadership in administering that justice, right? The people that keep, I forget what this guy's name is, but
Grady Judd.
Yeah, Grady Judd. Clearly like him because he's allowed to say stuff like this and not have to worry about getting fired. I do.
He's a law and order guy.
He definitely.
That he is a huge law and order guy, and that's his county. That's what they wanted, so that's what they got.
I have issue with this idea of it being an emotional thing or an emotional response. Don't get me wrong. I'm not immune to getting up, but you guys have seen me get upset when we watch some of this stuff. I get where they're coming from, right? I just don't like the way it looks when you're saying that we're acting out of malice or we're acting out of emotion. You're going to act based off of what the law allows you to do. However, guy decides to punch his ticket to go see Jesus, and I mean, lethal force is lethal force. 1 round and 68 rounds is the same at that point. Once you've earned lethal force, I mean, doesn't matter if it happens with a pencil or not. It's going to happen. But I do always find it very interesting. Man, the stuff sheriffs get away with saying is wild to me. But that's what happens when you're elected. I mean, look at politicians. It's the same thing. Politicians say some heinous stuff and get away with it because it's effectively a popularity contest at that point. And they really are truly reflections of the people who have put them in power. And shout out to them. I bet their crime statistics are better than where I live. Can you see the story in the DMs? I'll check for you, Dan. You've made me laugh more than once today. Oh, this one. Send it to me again because all I'm seeing is a screenshot.
425's not with 4 left.
Now, last time I was very disappointed in the female officer we have. We have a time for redemption. We have a time. Oh yeah, you know what? I'll it's not Thursday, but I'll keep tabs. I'm gonna let the deputy start off with a +5. Deputies. And I'm gonna say police is at 0. And I don't have anybody else now. This is a police officer. She's got time to win us some parts, some points.
Your assigned call has been updated. I started with the Maryville Police Department in 2022, August of 2022. I was previously with the Hamilton Police Department for almost 8 years. I worked for our IUPD for a couple years before that. Wanted to become a police officer to basically to help people. Try to make a difference in the community. Even after I'm in my 11th year and I still love doing my job every day. Every day is something different. Really, the best part about my job is that I don't.
11 years on patrol is a lot of time. That is a pretty. I have high expectations for you, Amanda.
I don't know what's going to happen every day, and I'm not confined to a desk. I can kind of be out and be present in the community. But also the worst part of my job is that I don't know what's going to happen every day. Doing the stop arm. calling that? Today we went to an accident and someone was having a medical emergency, and they crashed their car. Luckily, it wasn't too serious. Driver.
Why does she have 4 keepers back here?
And nothing else. Where's it?
It's kind of weird, no? Like, am I off base for this? It's kind of weird. Like, don't get me wrong, keepers are important. I had 4 keepers on my belt, but I'm sure I have more of a waistline as far as I'm a thick boy, right? I'm pretty sure I had more belt and more stuff on it, but you want to put keepers in like I did like the 2 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, one right next to my gun, so it's about like the 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and then one kind of on the other side of like my radio. And
I kept 2 snugged up front side and back side of my holster.
Yeah.
Just to
make sure that thing wasn't moving.
Yeah.
It's just a weird orientation for keepers, but maybe it works. Maybe she just built weird, and that's the way she keeps her belt from moving. But that's just a weird cop thing to notice. Shout out to them actually being legit keepers. They're the snap kind. I had people that would wear Velcro keepers, and I always thought it was kind of crazy. You need snaps.
I kept double snaps in the back, the double row snaps. Instead of the sing. She's got 4 singles. I had the 2 doubles.
Those are nice. I used to have a really nice leather Safariland snaps. They were, dude, those keepers they lasted my whole patrol career.
Yeah.
They're pretty rad.
He was feeling better after it happened. Luckily, no one else really got hurt from it. Then we went to a civil issue of 2 grown men having a disagreement over dog feces.
Man, what a sad day at work today so far. I had an accident that was medical, so I did a 1.5-hour report doing a crash report since somebody got hurt, and a civil matter about poop. What a good time.
After we left there, I saw a car that had a couple different traffic violations going on, so I stopped it, and the driver ended up having a couple warrants and was in possession of marijuana.
Oh, it wasn't just guilty of some traffic violations. It was guilty of being a reasonable suspicion car, right?
Yeah.
This is a rolling PC, man.
425 special. Your subject is coming back 40 out of Lake County.
PC.
I don't know.
Did she say that was confirmed? I was up talking to him when...
Yeah, it's confirmed.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
We're doing Miss Wars? Come on. These better be like Class Bs if they're misdemeanors.
Your assigned call has been updated.
So, not to make fun of city cops, but there's definitely like 4 cops here. There's some deputy rolling and making fun of this guy. Oh, Producer Juan. No.
Who is my tow, and can you also start me a 3rd case for narcotics, please? And also link it to these other 2.
The suspect's not on scene. What do you need a 3rd for?
Probably have them stay with the vehicle until tow shows up so she can continue on with her.
Hell no. Bro, you stop a car, arrest somebody, and it's going to do a PC search and a tow? I ain't sitting on your car. Oh, she's got even more keepers here.
Yeah.
Maybe she's got like 8. Maybe she's just being super extra with the keepers. I take it back. Okay. I take everything I said back about the keepers. But if she is going to do what you said she's going to do, then I have offense here.
Yeah, this is going to be your tow. And AAA added.
That's a decent amount of weed. That's probably like what? If I had to ballpark it, like just over 1/10 of an ounce, maybe. Like a. That's not a lot. This is the corner of a bag.
Okay.
Right. There's a decent amount of buds here. This is decent weed.
I appreciate you.
You for sure
Would I
smell this,
observe the
though.
vehicle to be wrong? I'll note like the driver behavior and everything. And then I had
Oh,
to...
you know what? If she could smell weed in the car, but didn't see any paraphernalia and was going to do the search anyways, that's probably why she just confirmed on the warrants, because then it's a search incident to arrest versus what's a lot looser of just saying, well, I can smell it, because easily someone can say, well, I smell it, but you're outside. It could have been a passing car. It could have been one of these houses you were sitting next to. It's like, yeah, but it's easier from an authority standpoint to just confirm on the warrant and then search incident to arrest. Yeah, I'm not mad about that. I take everything I said back now.
You could forearm pin him to the headrest and stick your head in there real quick. Get you a good sniff.
Get you a good sniff. That's some debutante stuff right there.
Maybe.
These old heads are on something, man.
to do a second case for his warrants. So we have a particular template that we use when we do a warrant arrest. And then because he had the marijuana on him, then that's a third one for a drug offense. So they'll all get linked together, and it's basically like 3 separate case reports for it. That's all I had to do.
That sounds terrible. We would just run it all under the same report number, and we just got to list charges. That's a dumb way to do reporting.
Dumb.
That's extra stupid with the side of stupid. An ounce? You're crazy. I don't know if that's an ounce of weed. That's, I mean, you're thinking like maybe like that much. And weed doesn't weigh anything. It's like the weight of potpourri, basically. 28 grams. That's pretty specific. Oh my God.
Sometimes we get 1 or 2 calls. It'll be anything from like just doing, usually day shifts is a lot of like VIN checks and kind of administrative calls, like taking reports from things that might have happened the night before, like
break-ins,
damage reports, or you know, people wake up and they find things. But then sometimes it can go to just, we've had shootings on day shifts, we've had like burglaries in progress, so it's really, days are just kind of random, I guess.
You know what? I'm going to give Amanda a +3 for police. She did a pretty good job here. Conducted herself professionally. Made me recant my statement about her keepers. I'm here for it. This is the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, I guess, recruitment page. They said, "We need you now. No hiring freeze." Also, shout out to the. This looks like a Springfield 1903 for their honor guard. It's kind of based, as opposed to I've seen M14s. I've seen like more of like the M16 or M4 configuration. I've also seen M1 Grands every once in a while, but a 1903 Springfield's kind of based. I'll take that.
Did they have hiring bonuses when you went in?
Hell no, bro. Man, when I went in, I'm not saying nobody did, but most good departments like would laugh at the idea at the time.
Yeah,
I remember my recruiting class had I think 3,000 applicants and only 40 spots.
Well,
like it was different. At least, and mind you, I'm in a massive like metropolitan area, so like there's a lot of competition for every job there. But yeah, my academy was, and mind you, it was the department I was going to, right, and some of the standards that are there with it. But heck, I think at Plano PD, when I was still in college, I was already starting to apply for police departments. Just my testing day had 250 people that showed up.
Yeah.
Only 80 of us passed the written course, right? I think I ranked something like, I think it was like 40th or something like that out of that 250, or 50th out of that 250. And then less of us, I think only half of that 80 passed the physical. And that was one day. And they would do, for an academy, they would do, I don't know, like 10 of those.
Yeah.
Like it was wild. Like, and it was a very highly competitively paid, like it was one of the highest paying departments in the state. required the bachelor's degree, required a bunch of other stuff, and those were competitive. I'm sure if you go out to like more rural areas, there's just less of a pool of people. State troopers, it could be a mixed bag depending on the state. But yeah, we had huge at least when I was getting hired. I was coming in post the Dallas 5 that happened in 2015. And so like the want for I don't want to compare it to September 11th, but there was like a real big push for people that either wanted to make a difference or felt the need to help, right? Or make a difference. There was a pretty big surge. I'm sure everyone across the board saw a lot more recruits after that, especially in the DFW area. Oh, do I have audio for this? This is likely demonetized, but whatever. God, these kids look so young.
I know.
Keith, we're getting old, dog.
I know. Oh my gosh.
We are getting old. I think the baseball cap looks a little goofy when you don't have anything else on your like persons. Like they don't have a vest or anything on. But I do like that they're already starting to make them wear like a button-down shirt with, I'm assuming it's like an academy patch. The belt, like that's an old school leather, the double clasp belt.
2 1/4-inch belt.
A lot of my FTOs still had these. When we moved over to the buckle. I think they were Belanchi. Belanchi or Safariland there was the inner belt that obviously had like the hook and loop on either side, and we just had like a clicking belt. So you would have to like size it for yourself, cut off the excess, and then snap it in. So you couldn't lose or gain too much weight, or it was an adjustment. This, you just go to the next little click.
Yep.
Line inspections. My dog. Oh, I was like, I'm assuming just canine training. I was like, why would you be getting canine training like this in academy? But probably not that. Look at how big that dog is compared to that guy. That's a big dog.
That's a lot of dog. Yep.
That's like a 90 to 120 pound dog. That's cool. This shotgun kills me. It's a great. These still work. These are probably from like the 50s or 60s. This is in pretty decent condition, that being said. And they work just fine. I actually am really not a fan of this positioning. This is what's taught. This is what I was taught. I did this as a police officer. This is an LA PD thing because they have ballistic doors. There wasn't a single part outside of my engine block that was ballistic in my patrol car. The only time I could see this make a lot of sense is if on a traffic stop, they could always take off from you when you're bluffing the car. And so you're as close to getting back into your car as you can be. But a lot of times people will treat this as cover as opposed to just like concealment or like arrest. They don't emphasize that enough, I think, in training. Like, hey, this is just so you can get to your PA, maybe like adjust your like this light that's here, the little spotlight. But this is how old you were. But Keith was probably taught this in his academy, and his was damn near 20 years before mine. So. I don't like this lack of trigger discipline. Like, unless you're about to smoke this, dude, this is unacceptable. I am less of a fan of them all having different height push-ups. But I do like that they're working on fitness. Shout out to them. All pretty low impact exercises. bro, formation runs were such cancer. You know how cool it was to be a cop post 2014 in an academy? During our formation runs, we had to still have an armed officer around us. Because they were nervous somebody was going to come and kill us. And none of us were armed because we're in shorts and a t-shirt.
Wow.
It was a good time. Legit had like an armed officer that would run with us in full kit. It was kind of wild. This music's a little much. I'm going to turn that down. Oh. It's whatever. I will say this, what's kind of weird for it being St. Louis is I haven't seen a single female recruit. I find that weird. But I guess shout out to them. This isn't a great way to get a pulse, I'll be honest. In the reality of it, if you're not, like almost all of them are kind of pushing too hard. Like when you're getting here at the jugular, you have to push and then start to pull off the neck to actually feel it. I was 80% of my bachelor's degree was in biology because I was pre-med. I actually prefer, like you can do it underneath the arm. There's a couple different places you can do it. This is a hard place to do it, but shout out to them for getting some medical. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is like evoc training, I guess.
Yes.
This is kind of slow for evoc, isn't it? Evoc was all fast and even reversing. Like it was the first time ever in my life that I ever slammed on the gas in reverse. It was kind of a weird feeling. Like in ours, especially on like the escape for it, I mean, you went up to like 30 miles per hour in reverse. It was it was actually kind of hard. The rest of it was pretty easy though. Like evasive lane change and all that stuff was pretty easy. Bro, these aren't the most clapped out Berettas I've ever seen in my life. These Berettas look like my my lower back and my left knee feel. They're getting slow and deliberate room clearing. I do like that they have these guys really off, like they're very far indexed off. Like they're trying to get as far away from it as possible. That's actually indicative of rather good training. This is also called plating, where this lead officer who's got long cover is continuing down the hallway on lead cover, but this guy's physically using his body to protect his other officer. This is actually very good training. And you stay connected so you don't lose each other. This is actually, they're like actually physically pushing into each other. So the whole idea is you don't want to have to look over your shoulder to make sure you're in line. That's pretty decent. Only word of advice I could give is actually use your elbow, because the bad guy inside the room is going to see the front of your gun before this guy can shoot back. And you guys might start taking rounds early. But this is good. Oh, these are, again, just community vests. Ugh. These smell terrible. These smell so bad. I like how they're still rocking Berettas. Dude, death by PowerPoint. I don't miss that. That's how you know this guy was there for a long time. Look at this poor kid. He's like all the way slouched in that chair.
Yeah.
I have been there, dog. I'm sorry.
It's that after lunch class.
Dude. Oh, and you have something heavy too?
Yes.
You just...
Yeah.
just
dying.
Thanks, Mom. I wish I was as smart as Dad. Dan is done with this recruiting video. I'm not mad about it. This was actually one of the less egregious like recruiting videos I've seen. Some of it's a little old, but I mean, just because it's old doesn't mean it's bad. There's a handful of weird things with it, but it is what it is. This is a story I'm not pumped about covering.
Yesterday, right?
Yes, this was indeed yesterday. However, I want to explain, one, that there's a consequence to things and to politics or whatever, but I'll just let the story play for a second.
A 25-year-old is behind bars tonight, charged with driving drunk, hitting and killing a Fort Worth police officer early this morning. Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
And I'm Steve Eager. It's 9 o'clock. Police say she drove the wrong way on an off-ramp up onto I-35. Police say the driver hit Sergeant Billy Randolph, who was working a crash scene involving an 18-wheeler. Ring camera video near the scene in Fort Worth shows the aftermath. First responders running toward the officer after he was hit, trying to save him. He died on scene. A memorial service is scheduled for later this week on what would have been his birthday. Fox Sports' Peyton Yeager live in Fort Worth tonight with more. Peyton.
Steve, and the memorial behind me for Sergeant Randolph is growing by the hour this evening. People are dropping off flowers and leaving behind cards. Some of those people.
Randolph served 4 years in the United States Air Force and then went on to have a nearly 30-year career with the Fort Worth Police Department. Early Monday morning, police
in Fort Worth too. That's a tough city to be a cop. Like, you were dealing with stuff there.
Say Randolph was working the scene of a fiery crash on Interstate 35W at Sycamore School Road. The initial collision involved an 18-wheeler, which caught fire and caused a fuel spill, seen here by cell phone video. With the interstate blocked off, police say 25-year-old De'Ajale Evans drove the wrong way on the exit ramp and struck Randolph.
She continued driving, trying to flee the scene. After about a quarter mile or so, she finally stopped, but then got out and tried to flee on foot, running from the scene.
Evans was eventually taken into custody and a blood draw was taken. She's currently charged with intoxication manslaughter causing the death of a peace officer. Ring doorbell video sent to Fox 4.
Yeah, good luck running from Fort Worth. Incredibly good police department. I had the fortune, I worked right next to them for my entire patrol career, and it was a very, very good police department. I had an officer that died in a very similar fashion when I was on duty in Grand Prairie, which is the other side of my city. And it's very similar set of circumstances. You're minding your own business, working an accident. It was my least favorite. I had I-30 and 360 that ran through my beat, as well as George Bush. And all of those were my responsibility. And every single time I had to touch that, this was my fear. I wasn't worried about getting shot. I mean, I was, but at least I had a chance there. But getting smoked by a DWI was one of my biggest fears. I think it's also, and Keith and I have had some conversations about this, about feeling like lucky. That's part of it. Like, I like to think that I'm like cool and skilled and like an overall bad dude. But like, that guy survived 4 years in the Air Force and then 30 years on patrol, you know, or whatever, just so you get smoked by a wrong-way driver, which pisses me off to no end. However, having lived my entire career under the Tarrant County judges, I just want to bring up that if you look up on the Tarrant County Appraisal District or the Tarrant County District Clerk, you can find charges that were given to the suspect as recent as like pretty recently, right? There's 3 different counts of assault with a deadly weapon that all were adjudicated earlier this year. Unlawful carry of a weapon and possession of marijuana, just under 4 ounces, which is wild. I think that it's 2 to 4 ounces, and then like 4 ounces is a lot because you typically get like intent to distribute when you get to that much, if they can find it. These are all different report numbers, which means that they're all separate incidences, right? Yeah. These all happened within this year. And not only was she out and about, she was out and about in a car, hammered, driving the wrong way, on I-35, which is an interstate highway, which is enormous. I don't even know if this will go across like the DA's desk as like, oh, I guess we got that one wrong. Like, I don't know, dude. This pisses me off because they're oftentimes the policy in a lot of these places is that they're very, I get it if it was misdemeanor warrants. I get it if it's like maybe a domestic and they've agreed to go to like therapy or whatever it is. But like ag assault with a deadly weapon 3 different times. And like, I don't know, man. We don't think that person's maybe not. You know what I mean? Like,
should have been out there.
That's all within this year. Like,
I get bond and I get everything, but when you've got what 4 months apart, looks like,
dude.
Wait, what's that? So the 2 ag assaults right on top of each other.
Yep. Yeah. So you can kind of see it. The first 2. The first 2 it was the UCW and then the ag assault.
UCWs.
But then the next one, they're within the same like couple of thousand. There's only 2,000 reports in between the first ag assault and the next ag assault, right? And then for the third ag assault, there's only 1,000 or something like it's not a big jump on the ag assaults. And maybe they were similar incidences and maybe they tacked on the charge later or whatever it is. But like the fact that 3 are on a record and she was out on 3 different aggravated assault charges that still have to get adjudicated and have different court dates and whatever. Like
so those are the court dates on those.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Trying to make sure I'm square on this.
But like she had a court date for the first one, January, February, March, and April. Another one that was supposed to happen on the 2nd, right? She probably just got out of court for that ag assault charge. And then I'm assuming this one for September, I don't know if that's a new one or not, but is potentially the one that has to do with this. It's wild to me that she was out and about.
Yep,
but
should have been out.
I can't tell you how many times we arrested dudes, and I worked in this county, and this would be the rap sheet. And I'd be like, dog, like Grand Prairie just arrested them for assaulting a peace officer, like aggravated assault, like they shot at police in Dallas. The Dallas AG was like, or the Dallas DA is like, whatever, PR bond, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Misunderstood. That's all it was.
Either way, I feel bad for that family. My heart's kind of goes out to them, but like, I don't know, man. Yeah, there are a lot of things that need to change about policing. Don't get me wrong, and we harp on that because we're subject matter experts on that. But on the legal side of it, like as far as both in a good and a bad way, like I think there's a lot of people victimized by the court system. I think the whole getting a bondsman and all of that stuff is kind of effed up anyways. But definitely on violent offenses, I don't understand how that happens, that people are getting out. It pisses me off every time I see it.
Withdraw! Withdraw! Jesus! Withdraw! 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 Missiles!
You know what's interesting is they're protesting because the police aren't doing enough, which I find what an odd, ironic twist. A lot of weird stuff going on England. I know we have some people that are on that side of the pond, so I guess they might know more about what's going on than we do. But when there's civil unrest, it's a you problem, dog. Fireworks would suck. That is an easy way to get third-degree burns. You can lose like fingers and stuff like that. You could lose eyes. I mean, technically every single one of these is ag assault. I'm surprised they don't have some sort of countermeasure as far as CS, bean bags, a water cannon, something. These dudes are all risking losing stuff.
Missile! Pressings! Pressings! What's your footing? What's your footing?
I'll tell you what, though, I'd take fireworks over Molotovs. I'd tell you
Any
that.
day. Yep.
Yeah. That's wild to me. Be careful out there. If you're gonna protest and peaceful stuff, just be careful. Because again, those can get very dicey. Yeah, if you're, I hate it because the people that are making the policies and are allowing or disallowing the arrests aren't the guys that are out here having to work this riot, which really sucks. Like the beat cops that are stuck here having to work this riot, like, have very little authority over what they're allowed or not allowed to do. And that sucks. I've been on the business end of that a few times in my life. Let's see. Can I get this to play?
When I let her up, thinking she's calmed down, she grabs a can of corn and she hit me right there. And I saw stars. And then I looked on the floor, there was corn everywhere. I didn't even know I was bleeding.
Yeah, Timmy said that you're a redneck. That's
Yes,
what he said,
I
because
am.
he said you jumped on her like a grown man.
She hit me.
Well, yeah, you have every right to defend yourself. That's what I'm saying. But he said you took care of yourself pretty well.
Yeah, until I got hit with a can of corn.
Is that did you buy that can of corn?
Yes. I bought the damn can she hit me with. She going to jail. I want her to go to jail.
Yeah, she's gonna go to jail.
And for what?
For battery.
Too bad it can't be aggravated with a can of corn.
Well, yeah.
I feel like I could articulate ag assault. It's in the manner of its use, right?
I think you probably could, yeah. I mean, a can of corn weighs, what, 12, 13 ounces?
Probably, yeah. And it's metal, you know, like.
It has edges. Yeah, we
And
can
it's a blow to the head specifically. Now, if it was like in the back or the arm or the leg, like maybe less so, but to the head, that could easily be fatal, you know?
Well, yeah. And
It caused hospitalization, right?
Caused serious bodily injury.
Yeah.
So, and her intent was there by her throwing it. That action, you know, just said, I intend to do this. So, yeah, here we go. You got it.
I just like that this is the most deputy interaction ever, is it not?
It's a Florida deputy, it looks like.
It might end up being aggravated with a can of corn.
Did you clean all the corn up in the...
She actually threw the can of corn in the woods. Patricia, where's that can of corn that got thrown?
I don't want to go to jail.
Okay, so where'd you put the can of corn?
It's gone. It's out in the woods somewhere.
You threw it out in the woods?
Yep.
Where'd you throw it out in the woods at?
Out there somewhere. As far as I could.
You don't got like a Troy Aikman arm, do you?
I don't know.
A Troy Aikman arm? Bro. This call's not from the 90s. There could have been a myriad of other quarterbacks you could have mentioned. You ain't got a Troy Aikman arm. This happened in Cobb County. That's incredible if it did. This is man on a Skyjack. This feels like Florida. I know it's not, but it feels like.
Pull that lift to the side of the road. Stop now.
What the heck are you doing out here?
43 in charge.
I'm working a job site right there, man.
45.
Right down there? What are you doing down there? What are you doing in this thing?
I just came to get some lunch and sodas and whatnot for the guys.
What's your name?
Steve.
Well, Steve, I can't have you driving up and down the street in this Skyjack. You're sitting on beer.
That's for after. I'm not drinking it now.
That's for
What
after.
about that beer there I saw you drinking coming out of the driveway?
49
Oh, man. I'm just finishing that one was from earlier. That's...
Steve, I can't have you driving down the road in a Skyjack drinking beer. Why don't you come on down and talk to me here for a minute? Let's figure this out.
Man, I got to get back to work.
No, just come on down. We'll get this figured out and we'll get you back to work.
No.
Steve, come on down. Steve? Come on down.
Come get me. How about that?
I tell you what, Steve, we can do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way.
Come on up.
The
buddy.
hard way, on the way to jail, we're going to stop by the hospital.
Oh, maybe I'll come down. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll come down.
097.
Maybe I won't.
Steve?
97.
Come get me.
Come on down. Just come on down. Let's work this out.
Like how he threatens to send him to the hospital.
Get you back to work.
Oh, man, why don't you just go on your way and I'll go on my way.
What's funny is there's controls on the bottom of scissor lifts, like literally on the other side of this little panel here.
Yeah.
And he can, there's like the safety shutoffs there. He could lower it and then turn. This overrides his handheld control up there.
I'm giving you one more chance, Steve. Come on down the easy way.
I know my rights.
All right.
Sir, pull that lift to the side of the road.
That's hilarious. I actually had to work an accident with the scissor lift like that, or a Skyjack, I guess that's what they called them. But they were working on our what's it called? Our like convention center, and a guy was crossing the street with it, and a Honda Civic went and plowed into it, and I had to work that accident. I just had to figure out how to code. I had to call an accident investigator. I was like, "Is that a motorized conveyance?" Because it doesn't have lights really. And like I just try to figure out, is this like a pedestrian? Like how you treat it like if it was a cyclist? Like that's not really a motorized conveyance, so you just treat it like an autoped. I had to.
If it's self-propelled.
Yeah.
If it's gas combustion, and I think they are. Well, no, are those?
They're electric, yeah.
Electric, yeah. So
it's electric, not road legal, but like it didn't meet like the CC requirement for like a motorcycle or whatever. But it's clearly not like a scooter. So I had to work it as a motorized conveyance. And then I had to like call somebody and I had to go up there, but it was hilarious. I tell you what, those things are built like tanks. Let me check and see if anybody else sent me anything. Because if not, we're done for the evening and I'll hang out with you guys for a little bit in the after party. Checking. I saw this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got everything. Shout out to everybody that stopped by. Thank you guys for dropping a like if you didn't indeed do that. Didn't you react to the rookie episode with a lift and said the same thing? I probably did. Oh, they did have a scissor lift. I forgot about that. My story chime checks out. I hear Skyjack and I'm thinking about an airplane. It is weird being done early. I do have to wake up early, so this works out. But I will give you guys a bit of an after party because I do owe it to y'all. I had a story time. I'm trying to remember what it was about. Somebody.
Your cousin?
Oh,
yeah, you told me.
I got to meet a fan in the flesh that did not know that he was my first cousin. It was the most adorable thing ever. I'll tell the story in the after party if you guys want to hear it. But it was pretty adorable. So I met organically in my parents' house. I met a fan of the channel. So shout out to that. Dan, he said no. If you want to read it after, because the story is just more of a laugh. I sent the story. Okay, we'll read it here in a little bit. Patarok, not renowned, but Steve is a legend. Want to read the story. I'm being asked by Dan about a story. I guess he sent it to me. Traumatic arrest with a yellow banana stealing bananas from the town square. What? Apparently there was a banana stealing bananas. That's wild. That's hilarious. But either way, I'll hang out with you guys in the after party. If you guys would like to join the after party, you can do so one of two ways. You can either become a member here on the YouTube channel, or you could become a member of our Patreon group. It is as little as $1 a month, and that gives you direct access to our Discord. If you were joined on either one of those two and don't have access, just send us a message on either Instagram, or I guess you could do it directly through Patreon. And I will get you guys access to the Discord, and that is where we will hang out and do story time. I might play a little game or two with you guys, and then I do have to go to sleep because I have to drive 14 hours. Oh, I guess if anybody's here and you guys are near the Tennessee area, I will be in Knoxville this week. So I guess if you guys want to come bug me and say hi, you can. But the only way you could do that is through the Discord. So anyways, Mr. Toestar, what's going on? And then Thursday will be a Producer Juan takeover. They have dodged their responsibilities long enough. I will be in Tennessee, so I won't be able to make Thursdays, but we will be back to regularly scheduled streams Tuesday for a very long time. I won't miss any. And for everybody else, thank you guys for subscribing, and thank you guys for supporting the channel. I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.
See you, everybody.
End in stream. Ended.